Welcome to Colliders by Pack Publishing. In this video, we are going to look at colliders with the context of a character controller. We will examine the construct of colliders, discuss the different types of colliders, and spend the majority of our time conducting a live demonstration. Colliders are important elements in Unity games. We create and attach colliders to game objects. The Unity game engine detects when colliders come into contact with one another, and your game objects will respond appropriately. There is a requirement that one of the objects have a rigid body component attached to it. You can think of colliders as an invisible force field around an object. In the game, colliders are not visible, but in scene view, they are indicated by a green outline. Colliders can assume the mesh shape of your game object or have a primitive shape such as a cube, capsule, or cylinder. Okay, let's take a look at colliders in Unity 5. Here is essentially a shell of a game. We have a flat terrain surface and we have a third-person controller. I'm going to click on the terrain, and then in Inspector View, you can see that there's a terrain collider. When I deselect that and put the game in game mode, you'll see that the player falls right through the terrain. So we need to enable the terrain collider so it's a substance or game object that cannot be passed through. Now let's look at our third-person controller. You can see the green outline of a capsule around the player, and that is a capsule collider. You can see in Inspector View that there is a rigid body associated with this character, and it has gravity enabled. And the capsule collider is also enabled. It's checked. I'm going to uncheck that and then put the game in game mode. And you'll see that this time the character fell through the terrain, and that was not the terrain's fault. So when we enable or check the capsule collider in Inspector View, go back to game mode, we now see that the player is colliding with, if you will, the terrain, and neither is passing through the other. Let's go back into scene view and demonstrate this in one other way. I'm going to create a game object, specifically create a cube. I'll change the texture of that just to make it easier to see. And I will also change the shape to make it much more clear. So you can see that this shape in Inspector View is a box collider. I'm going to deselect that and put this game in game mode. You'll see to the right of the character is that box, and I'm going to walk right through it. We don't want to walk right through it. What if that's part of a wall or a building? You see that I can walk right into it. It just as if it were water. So now we're going to select the box collider, put the game back in game mode, and we'll see that our character can no longer walk through it. Now, if the character were able to jump higher, he would be able to jump on it. So you can see that colliders are very important components of Unity games. The Unity game engine makes great use of colliders. It can detect when the initial collision occurs, when the collision is still in effect, and when the collision ends. We can use these events to trigger our game scripts and animations. In this section, we created a game world and added a player controller. We examined the controller's anatomy and expanded our exploration by modifying the controller's joints. We also looked at how the player controller's collider works. Next up, controlling navigation.